The Lady in the Garden. For years, she had lived alone. No husband, no children. Just the house, the garden, and the silence. The kind of quiet that wrapped around you like a warm blanket. The mornings were spent in the garden. Her garden, where the roses bloomed in clusters of crimson and white. She hummed to herself as she trimmed, water splashing softly onto the earth, the sunlight falling just right between the leaves, and she liked it that way. But lately, things hadn't felt quite right. At first, it was just small things. A chair that wasn't quite where she'd left it. A picture frame that seemed to have shifted a few inches. And then, the laughter. A child's laughter. It echoed through the halls late at night, when everything was still. But she told herself it was just the wind, just her imagination. But the more she tried to ignore it, the louder it became. One night, the laughter was joined by footsteps. Little feet, light and quick, walking across the old floorboards upstairs. But she had no children. There was only the house and her. Then came the voices, a man and a woman, arguing in a distant room. We should leave. We can't just go. We've spent everything on this house. She pressed her hands to her ears, trying to drown out the sounds that rattled the walls. It wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But the noises only grew louder. One night, after the arguing had become too much to bear, she screamed, "Leave me alone!" And just like that, silence. The house went still. For the first time in weeks, the eerie noises stopped. She slept soundly, thinking she had finally rid herself of whatever haunted the house. Until the next morning, when she stepped outside and saw them. A family, a man, a woman, and a child, stood on the front lawn, staring at the house. They were whispering to each other, eyes wide and uneasy. She froze, heart pounding. They could see her. The woman shivered, turning to her husband. "I think this house is haunted." The old woman's breath caught in her throat. She was the house. She was the one who had always lived here. They didn't need to know her. She didn't need to be seen. So they called a psychic. The psychic stood still for a long moment, eyes closed, listening. Then she smiled softly. "She's not haunting the house," the psychic said in a calm voice. "She's part of it." The old woman's heart skipped a beat. What did she mean? She's been here a long time. She doesn't know she's gone. The words echoed in her mind, but they didn't make sense. She was here. She had always been here, hadn't she? The psychic turned toward the garden, toward the roses that she had tended for so long. "She just loves the garden," the psychic said, her voice soft. The family stared at the garden, unsure of what to make of it. But the child's eyes were wide. She stepped forward, as if drawn by something invisible, and stared into the blooming flowers. And that's when the old woman felt it. Her hand brushed against the window. She hadn't realized she was standing there until the cool glass was pressed against her palm. She looked down at the roses, the laughter, the voices, the moving objects. It had never been the house that was haunted. It had always been her. And as the wind rustled through the garden, the roses swayed with it, whispering softly in the breeze. But this time, the laughter was warm, like an old friend returning after a long absence. The house was hers, and she would always care for it.